ready to take your feminine dominance skills to the next level? Do you want to learn to dominate safely, creatively, and confidently? Are you looking for information on how to encourage growth, learning, and discipline? Or maybe you want to learn how to really submit in a woman-led dynamic. You're wondering how to find the right dominant partner for you. How can you learn and train to please her the best way possible? In this live, I'll speak from my perspective as a woman leading my relationship for nearly a decade, as a woman living a life beyond what I'd ever dreamed, with a partner I can barely believe is real. I'm glad you're visiting my world. Welcome to FLR, FemDom, and Women in Charge, presented by Dating Kinky and Curiouser.life.
Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you happen to be. For those of you who don't know me, hi, I'm Heather, also known as Nookie. I'm a hedonistic, dominant, cuckoldress pimptress who is polyamorous and monoromantic. I live a 24/7 woman in charge life with my partner of nearly 10 years. It's full of love, sex, passion, adventure, and exploration. I write books, I teach workshops, and I offer coaching for better love, sex, romance, and kink for people of all genders, relationship statuses, orientations, and more. Hello, Sabyasachi. Hello, Celine. So, female superiority, Cybelian lifestyle, gynocracy, all words for different relationship styles that put women first as naturally superior to all others. In this live, I'm sharing why some say women are superior leaders in and out of the bedroom. And I'm going to start out strong with why women are superior leaders. Now, please don't forget to comment or ask your questions in chat. Say hello, tell me where you're joining us from. I love engaging, and I do keep an eye on the scroll at all times. So, women as superior leaders. I'll be looking at this from a science-y business perspective because that's what's most often studied. I mean, there aren't a whole bunch of scientists or, behavioral people that tend to force their way into people's bedrooms and say, who's doing the best job here? So according to for example, a Pew Research Center report on what makes a good leader, characteristics such as honesty, integrity, compassion, and innovation rank quite high on the rating scale. When comparing these traits between men and women scored higher in most of those categories. Overall, the general public views women as more compassionate, more innovative, and more honest compared to men. Compassionate, innovative, honest. Do you value these qualities in leaders? Do you think that they're critical? And again, feel free to add your thoughts into the chat. Compassion, innovation, honesty. Hi, Pixie. Good to see you. As a dominant, Do you seek to embody these traits? As a submissive, do you look for these traits in dominance you serve? Are there qualities that are more important to you, to your dynamics, to your relationships? Absolutely, Sabyasachi says. Dr. Alice Eagley is a scholar on the topic of women's leadership. She believes that women make better leaders because women tend to be more transformational leaders, meaning that women seek to develop others, generally speaking, and listen more effectively. In addition to thinking more outside the box than their male counterparts. Her belief is based on studies she's done with colleagues. Now, again, transformational, developing others, listening more effectively. I know as a dominant myself, I seek transformation. I want to leave others, if I leave them, better than I found them. I want to develop both myself and the people around me. And I do want to listen. I want to listen more effectively than what is average, maybe more effectively than what is even better than average. Because I also believe that the only way to effectively lead is to understand the challenges that others face. And that means listening to them and endeavoring to understanding their challenges, right? So where do you fall on the idea that women are more transformational leaders? If you are a dominant woman, does this resonate with who you strive to be? If you're a submissive, do you seek this in a dominant? Transformational? Developing others? Listening more effectively? And let me be clear here. I always like to be sure that I am not giving the wrong impression. Not everyone will want those things in a dominant partner, right? Not everyone wants transformation. Not everyone wants, effective listening. That's not what they're looking for. And not every dominant will try to be that person. My philosophy in life and love is that when it comes to any kind of relationship, kinky or otherwise, what works for one couple or polycule or kinky family or whatever may not be what works for another. So I'm a big fan of do what works. Let me say that again. Do what works. This is one of my main mantras in life as well as in my relationships. Like, take what works for you from any information you consume and leave the rest, or use it to expand your understanding of what works for others. But please don't ever think that I'm telling you what to do. I'm a dominant woman, not your dominant woman. I have no desire to tell you what to do, to control you, or to give you what to think. I am attempting to share information that might help you figure all of this out for you and your partners, for you to find what works so that you and they can do what works. Right? And before we get back real quick to the leadership discussion, please like this video and share it wherever you find me. It is a huge help for me to have people recommend me to their friends, family, and groups or pages that you participate in online. So thanks so much for that. If you could do that, that would be ever so kind. So going back to leadership and science, because, I do love science. Neuroscience and neurobiological studies seem to show that women make better decisions under stress due to the way that their brains work. Women's brains apparently manage cortisol, the stress hormone, cortisol levels more effectively. So a study done by the University of Southern California found that under normal circumstances, men and women make decisions similarly, right? Under high stress situations, however, men tend to behave in riskier ways, often causing a negative impact or costly outcomes or time delays. Although interestingly, men and women experience stress differently as well, both physiologically and psychologically. So there you have it. That's the argument for women as superior leaders. What do you think? Honesty, compassion, transformation, innovation, listening, reactions under stress. That all seems pretty convincing, right? But again, they're also talking about women specifically in business, in politics, in the marketplace. They haven't really sent a whole bunch of scientists into anybody's bedroom or anybody's relationships to look all this up. What do you think? So, two studies that examined gender differences in leadership effectiveness based on data from thousands of leaders. These studies, where data was summarized across 99 samples of leadership studies, found that when looking at data from all sources, a combination of self-reported and other ratings, it seemed that there was no difference whatsoever in leadership effectiveness. What? No difference. And this is not just one study, because of course we can always argue that when people are going out looking to find out if women are better leaders, they're going to be looking with their own biases, right? Well, I'm going to try to find out if women are better leaders. Well, I found out that women are better leaders because I was looking to see that women are better leaders, right? But when looking at a wide variety of studies, it seems that there's a different story, right? So real quick before I go on, because now I'm going to go ahead and present some additional information. What about you? Do you think that women make better leaders or are better at working with and transforming others? Well, if so, you're in luck, because you know what? I'm a woman and I've recently started offering coaching. How's that for a segue? If you'd like to spend some one-on-one time with me, supercharging your relationships with a custom plan based on your personal needs, then visit me at Coach Nookie at CuriousHer.life. Of course, you're always welcome to join me for these free live events or to join one of my membership options or workshops. Some of you want more one-on-one, more personalized experiences, and will thrive with that accountability, and you asked for it, so I'm offering it. So let's get back to the topic of women being superior leaders. Hello, Freud the cat. I found out from experience that women tend to be less impulsive. Okay, so now that goes back to the idea that perhaps women respond to stress in different ways, right, than men. Pixie says yes, for several reasons. Okay, so again, we had this study that took samples from all of these different leadership studies and found that there were no obvious gender differences in leadership effectiveness. So what do we do? Well, first thing, there was a catch. When looked at more deeply, because these studies were both self-reported studies and other rated studies, men rated themselves higher and women were rated higher by others. Thus evening out the score, which personally I find curious, fascinating. Last week, I did a live about the art of confident dominance. It's still up. You could go find it and watch it if you haven't gotten a chance to yet. I will be taking it down here in the next few days and putting that into our Plus member library, and then putting up probably a clip. The thing is, when it comes right down to it, leading with confidence actually gets more done more effectively. Leadership is one's ability to influence others to achieve common goals, and confidence plays a big part in that, right? And then on Monday of this week, I went live talking on the topic of effective communication and said, because when we add the word effective, that is successful in producing a desired or intended result, we now not only want communication, we want results. And that is infinitely more complex because people want their own results and not yours, right? So when you're offering leadership, people want to feel confident that you can fulfill their desires. Being confident in yourself and your offer can make a huge difference there. So people often pick individuals for leadership on the basis of their confidence rather than competence or, like ability to get things done, right? On their charisma rather than their humility. And sometimes on their narcissism rather than integrity. So if we think about this further, these studies seem to show that men are more confident than women. Whether they should be or not is not actually discussed. And I believe that is definitely a takeaway that those who are less confident could learn from and maybe go back and watch that art of confident leadership. So let's take a look at why men make better leaders. We got to balance this out, right? Men make better leaders because they tend to be They are raised to be, they are socialized to be, in most cases, more assertive and dominant, which not unlike the confidence we just talked about, right? And for many people, those are signs of a good leader. So if that matters, if we're going to say assertiveness and dominance and confidence makes a good leader, then what is a leader? And how do we measure leadership? Leader. Noun. The person who leads or commands a group, organization, or country. So actually, all it takes to be a leader is to be in command or to take command. Confident, assertive, dominant, far more likely to take command than someone who wants the best for everyone, to listen to each person, to be compassionate. What do you think about this? What do you think about the idea of confidence, assertiveness, aggression being keys for leadership? I will tell you this. I get more questions from women stepping into a dominant role or wanting to develop their dominant role or their dominant selves about assertiveness, about aggression, about confidence than I do those who identify in the masculine end of the spectrum, or those who even identify in the non-binary. Because if we go back to what we were talking about, compassion, honesty, listening, innovation, transformational. Nearly 85, 90% of the women that I've ever worked with stepping into a dominant role or even in a switchy role, they want it to be a collaborative, positive effort and growth for everyone involved. And there are some amazing women, just brilliant leaders, who still doubt themselves because they care about making the right choice for the person or people that they lead. Freud the cat. Could you please enlighten us on the benefits of women handling family budget or finances and its relationship to achieving family's goals? Thank you so much. Can you remind me when I get near the end? Because that is something I would definitely like to come back to. So Mike says, I think decisiveness is the key factor in leadership, regardless of gender. So Mike, based on that, you are handing leadership primarily to masculine identified people. The more, for lack of a better word, testosterone that a person has, the more aggressive, which includes decisiveness, somebody is going to be psychologically. Freud says men are way more selfish, in my humble opinion. And Mike says, I do think women should be in charge of countries because there would be less war. So now that's interesting, because how do we then say women should be in charge when women are traditionally, generally speaking, less likely to make quick decisions and be super decisive? Because again, compassion means that women are constantly thinking about others and weighing their actions against others, right? Transformational, wanting others to grow and to be better. So, yeah. So if you love this content and you're looking for more education on love, sex, romance, kink, and of course, FLR, FemDom, and women in charge dynamics, let me tell you a little bit about our Plus membership. Getplus.datingkinky.com. When you join Plus, you'll immediately get access to my books, FLR, FemDom, and Women in Charge, and Because I Said So, a collection of sexy, thoughtful, and loving women in charge writings, parts 1 and 2. You'll get over 40 hours of amazing women in charge presentations taught by confident, dominant women from around the world, like, this goes to you, Freud, Financial Freedom to Ultimate Sexual Freedom, a discussion of women-centric non-monogamy, Practical Chastity for people with penises, creating contracts for MS or DS relationships, Red Flag Submissives, and more. For only $9.99 a month, $49.99 for 6 months, or $74.99 a year, you'll get access to all of that and over 300 hours of additional content on power exchange, relationships, communication, rope, navigating the kink scene, mental health in kink, and so much more. And if you're not yet ready, which is fine, although I really think anybody who is serious about any sort of kinky or non-traditional relationship, or any relationship at all, really, should not miss this, because I have put over 2 years of my life into building this library, and now I am working on it every single day, which is how you see me here right now. So you really don't want to miss this, but don't forget to like, love, or subscribe to this channel or this page, wherever you're finding me, so you don't miss a single live. Now, Mike, you just said, true, I'm kind of contradicting myself. Good point. So that is a huge factor in how society chooses its leaders. So if men are more, generally, not all men are more this than all women and whatever, but overall, if men, especially those raised and socialized as men, are more confident, assertive, and dominant, and they're more likely, as studies have shown, to participate and voice their opinions during group discussions, and then be perceived by others as leader-like, because again, more aggression, more willing to speak their minds, whereas women will hang back and listen effectively, then they are more likely to be leaders. It's that simple. And honestly, that's exactly what some people want from a leader. They're not looking for democracy or compassion. And I mean this in the bedroom as well, right? There are people who are like, I don't want to have a say. I don't want her to consider me. I want her to focus on herself and her needs. Honestly, I can tell you that does not work for me. I believe in a healthy ecosystem in my relationships and requiring that everybody get their needs fulfilled. I constantly say I'm super duper selfish because I require that the people around me speak their needs and desires so that I can make sure they can get as much of those fulfilled as possible, so that I know that when I need them, they can make my life easier. It's like maintaining your car. You know, those little idiot lights that say, hey, you need more oil? Like, yes, give me that, because then you can take me places. Mike says, what's your opinion on Freud's whole penis envy theory regarding some women being envious of male autonomy in society? I would definitely say that's true. I would also say, if you turn that around, that there are, and again, I'm not, so let me be very clear. I am not a fan of this war of the sexes. Like, I am not a fan of pitting the genders against each other at all. Like, I am not here for that. Not my thing. So, you know, on one hand, you have penis envy, right? Women possibly being envious of male autonomy in society. And then on the other side, I'll give you pussy envy, right? Men being envious of women's ability to garner sexual attention more effectively, or to be taken care of, or to not have to make decisions and have all the weight of the world on their shoulders, or whatever it is, right? Like, I look at Freud's like whole shtick as Freud being a big frickin' baby, and like essentially postulating that everyone else in the world is also a big baby and hasn't grown up. And that's why we're so pissy about things, which, I mean, I'm not saying he's entirely wrong. I'm just saying that I don't think that explaining things that way leads to any sort of growth or improvement. I'm kind of like a tough love type of thing, and I'm willing to slap you upside the head with, hey, you're being a jerk. Just stop it. I don't care why you're being a jerk. Just stop being a jerk. You don't want people to be jerks to you. Stop being a jerk to them. It seems relatively simple, right? But that's a whole nother thing. So I've got this quote from William Golding, and he said, I think women are foolish to pretend they are equal to men. They are far superior and always have been. Whatever you give a woman, she will make greater. If you give her sperm, she will give you a baby. If you give her a house, she'll give you a home. If you give her groceries, she'll give you a meal. If you give her a smile, she'll give you her heart. She multiplies and enlarges what is given to her. I think this is a lovely sentiment, expressed in a loving and very well-intended way. That said, I could not disagree more. Not only is that steeped in gender stereotypes, some women can't give birth, some women can't cook, some women are not homemakers, etc. But it's also my view that to suggest that anyone is superior to another because of the genitalia they were born with or the gender they identify as is akin to judging people by the color of their skin, the country they were born in, the size of their bank accounts, or their sexual orientation. I much prefer to judge people on the content of their character, their efficacy, and how they treat others. What do you think? And to follow up on that, I know men I would trust with my life. Seriously, trust with my life. And women I would not give the care of a goldfish to. I know humans of all genders who are kind and compassionate. and those of all genders who are mean-spirited and thrive on gossip, drama, and ruining people's lives. I know individuals of every possible configuration who are willing to step up and lead well. And those who couldn't lead their own ass out of a wet paper bag. I do not personally believe that women are superior leaders because we are women. I do believe that I am the best leader for my relationship because I want to lead and my partner enjoys that. I work hard to develop myself as a leader and my partner as an amazing human. I lead with compassion and creativity. In our case, I am the more level-headed one during stressful situations, generally speaking. And last, but absolutely not least, in fact, the most important reason I believe that I'm the best leader for my relationship, my partner tells me so. I get 5-star reviews regularly, right? He claims he's never been happier or felt more loved and cherished ever. And those are the standards I have set for myself as a leader. So I'm going to open this up to additional questions. I'm also going to go back to Freud the cat's question from earlier. So if you have a question, pop it into the chat. I'll be happy to answer it. Anything related to FLR, FemDom, and women in charge, especially focused on leadership. But I've got a few extra minutes here. So if you've got something else you'd like to ask and I can answer it, I will do that. Or if I can't answer it in a short period of time, I will remember it and answer it at another time, perhaps in another live. So hello, Dr. Abdirahman. Can I call you Dr. A? And did I get it right? I do like to pronounce things correctly if I can. Mike says, I'd be a terrible leader. I'm very submissive and indecisive. And I know a lot of women who would be great leaders because they have more traditionally masculine traits. Oh, absolutely. But again, you know, it's all in personality, who we are as people. How are our ethics? What's our integrity like? Are we willing to take ownership of the problem? Are we willing to make decisions? Are we willing to lead or not? Right? So Freud said, could you please enlighten us on the benefits of women handling family budget or finances and its relation to achieving family's goals? Thanks so much. So let's go back to some of what we've talked about today about women in leadership. And realize that when I talk about women handling the family budget in this case, I'm talking specifically about the women that I'm going to talk about with very specific character traits. Not all women are going to exhibit these character traits. And not all non-women, including men or non-binaries, etc., are going to lack these character traits. But if you think about it, the leadership qualities that we've discussed about women are going to be women who are going to react better in stressful situations, like with finances, who might have less impulsive behaviors, right? And who are going to consider the transformational aspect of money or the good for everyone versus putting themselves first constantly. Now, again, though, here's something that I think is very, very important. If you get into a power exchange dynamic with a woman, with anyone, if you get into a power exchange dynamic and someone wants to take over the finances, I would not make that decision lightly. I wouldn't. I would also have a lot of discussions about it. For example, were I to take over the finances of my partner and I do not take them over. We keep ours separate. But were I to, there would be discussions about setting money aside for the relationship, like us as a whole, right? Savings and so on and so forth. And also for the individuals, right? So there would be saving for each individual. There would be playtime money for each individual. And then there would be the money that is used to maintain the life that we lead together. And that would be discussed. And it would also be something that I would work on with my partner and say, okay, we had this surplus this month, and I put this much into our group savings. I put this much into your play funds. I put this much into your personal savings. And I did this and this with my personal savings and play funds, right? So understand that whoever you might hand your money to or any important decisions, the key from my perspective is understanding how they are going to handle it and are they going to handle it ethically, and also knowing your own boundaries when it comes to something like that, right? I teach a workshop called Take No Shit. It's takenoshit.curious or .life. I would highly recommend taking that workshop if you could, and reading the book that I'm writing to go along with it called Boundaries Are Sexy as Fuck, both of which are a part of the Plus membership that I just mentioned, getplus.datingkinky.com, or you can just get them separately for $47, takenoshit.curious or .life. But I would suggest going through and knowing not only your own boundaries and being able to maintain those strongly, but also knowing your partner's boundaries and ethics in handling those boundaries. So the boundaries are, how are you willing to be treated? What do you prioritize? Like, what is you? And the ethics are, how do you treat others? How do you honor others' priorities and autonomy? Everything that is not you. Knowing that about your partner and about a leader is critically important, in my view. So I do find that when it comes to things like finances, the right leader, which Freud the cat in your case might be a woman, will consider the good of the we ahead of the good of the me in many cases, right? Rather than, ooh, I want a new pair of Louboutin heels. I want to put this money towards, our family vacation or whatever it is. Does that make sense? Because again, I think it's really critical to note that while overall many women leaders are going to have those qualities of compassion and impulse control and honesty and so on and so forth, not all who call themselves leaders are going to. And you need to be sure of that before stepping into any relationship or handing over your money, power over yourself, sexual control, anything. Sabyasachi says, do you prefer in leadership to test yourself or rather than test with other competitors? Interesting question. So I've been having a conversation with somebody that I know, and I have always felt that she competes with me. And I told her, I'm not a competitive person, which is interesting because I actually wrote a piece a couple of years back about how I find the competition in non-monogamy to be fascinating to me, and it's part of the draw. And then I realized that the competition isn't me against everyone else. It's me against previous versions of myself. It is my goal to be better than I was yesterday. And in the case of a partnership, like with my partner, it is my goal to be his best partner and best leader ever. And that is something that I also work on daily. So I work on this for myself, and I work on it for the person I love most in the world. And other people, I don't see them as competition. I see them as inspiration. Like I'll see somebody who does something that I think, wow, they are really good at that, right? And so I want to know how they do it, and I want to learn from them, and I want to grow to be good at that, perhaps. Or sometimes I see them as a warning. Like I'll see somebody doing something and I'll be like, okay, I don't want to do that. Yeah. Okay. Note to self, do not behave in such and so a way, right? But competing against other people, I don't have that in me. Which, Mike, talking about what you were bringing up, that I am not like that kind of person, right? So if, for example, like I run a huge community for my local Kinksters online. I think we have over 1,000 people registered now, and it's very active, like thousands of messages a day in 50 or more channels. Like we are super, super tight-knit, active community. I don't vote. I don't vote in that community to help balance out the power that I have. If I've said constantly that it's less about what we want as leaders and more about us serving the community, right? Which in politics, for example, is a lot of the reasons why the more aggressive, outspoken people are going to get the limelight, because it's easier to say, this is right, and I will 100% back it, or this is wrong, and my holy text or my law book or whatever it is says so, versus something like, okay, so for some people this is definitely the right way to be, and for others they need to live a different way, and so it's going to be exactly the wrong way to be for them. You see, like, people are attracted to strong, aggressive confidence, black and white thinking, being sure of oneself. Whereas I feel like the more you get to know about the world in general, the less sure you are. No. The less aggressive you are about your beliefs, for other people. And I believe that's how it should be. I believe that if you are secure in your beliefs and your understanding of the world, you feel less need to force that on others, to try to control the narrative. So, Zephrina, no problem with being late. However, I am about to sign off today. You might want to catch the replay. Today, we were talking about, are women superior leaders? So we just had a great discussion about that and the pros or the fors and against, I guess, of women being leaders. And so if you catch the replay, I would love to hear your comments. And to everyone else, I'm about 9 minutes out from going live for our Take No Shit workshop attendees. Today, I'm going to be talking with them about expressing a need versus being needy. So that's going to be focusing in on boundaries and how to both set boundaries and prioritize needs within a relationship. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you loved this discussion, please like and share it with others who would enjoy it. And don't forget to follow or subscribe wherever you're finding me so you don't miss out on upcoming FLR, FemDom, and Women in Charge lives. Now, speaking of upcoming, tomorrow I will be going live at 10 a.m. Eastern Time US with what is ethical non-monogamy anyway. On Monday, I'll be coming in at 10 a.m. Eastern. What is an orgasm? That'll be the first episode of the new Sensuality, Sex, and Orgasm series. On Tuesday at noon, I'll be talking about high context versus low context communicating in relationships. The workshop is takenoshit.curiouser.life, or you can get the workshop as part of our Plus membership, which is getplus.datingkinky.com. So, yeah, thank you so much for joining me. I need to go get ready for my workshop. Thank you all. Have an amazing